Hey guys, here we are in the final round of the fight. Haven't learned a whole lot about Errol Spence, except that he's predictable. He doesn't vary his tactics very much. He holds and hits, and he's, pretty, I'll say mildly easy to counterpunch against. He doesn't have an active guard. He doesn't know how to feint or set up his offense. For all intents and purposes, he's a C-level fighter with extraordinary talent physically. He's got great tools. He's sharp. He's fast. He hits hard. Good technique, as people harp on. But he hasn't shown us a lot of actual boxing skills aside from very, very basic technique stuff and basic boxing fundamentals. Nothing really high level or advanced, aside from if he learned how to do his control game a little differently, aside from holding and hitting. But anyway, let's get on to the last round. It's a short one. Here's Errol Spence trying to counterpunch a little bit. Gets caught with a body shot. Kind of controls his head. I don't think that's a real punch. Tries to control him again with the jab, moving back. And Algieri, not really landing anything. Moving offline, but mostly moving offline because he's off balance from throwing that punch. Errol Spence commits completely to this jab. Algieri catches it and almost catches him with the counter before he's able to get out. I do want to point out that Errol Spence knows that Algieri's basically trying to counterpunch this whole time and should be feinting and probing a little more often. Algieri gets in there with a wide hook that doesn't land. He blocks it, but lands the follow-up shot, right? I don't exactly know what that says about Errol Spence's defense, but he shouldn't be getting caught that cleanly from some guy he's basically been beating the shit out of. Pardon my language. Then he goes in. Errol Spence holds his head down when he tries to punch, eats a body shot with the straight right, then kind of holding his head stops him from landing the other body shot, still holding his head down, pushes him out. Now this is okay, right? Pushes him out and then lands the straight left because he's not holding his head as he's punching. This is a little different. The only part that I have a problem with is the fact that he gets on top of his head here and Spence takes his jump back, then holds his head and takes another step back, pulling Algieri off balance, which he should be getting one for. He definitely should be, but controls his head out of it and lands a great shot that just, drops him. We can't really say that Errol Spence doesn't have a lot of power, but how much credit are you giving his power when you have to drag your opponent around the ring and push him off balance and then land a shot? And Algieri looks okay, What is the first thing Errol Spence does? We're going to do this all in slow-mo because the rest of the round is pretty short, so if I can get this thing to play again. Okay. And I'll pause it intermittently. But jumps forward, and what is the first thing he does? Tries to get lead foot dominance with the faux jab, right? Get his arm in front of him. Misses with the straight left because he telegraphs it because he's got all his weight on his right foot. You see it coming. Controls his head a little bit with the right hand after, right? This is so much different than holding your opponent's head down, right? Misses, then puts his hand up to touch him, like a measuring touch, right? Throws a left hook. It still misses, right? But he's still moving forward. He's shifting forward as he throws this. And when he shifts and he's out of position, touches him with this hand, throws the left hand, controls his head, again, turns. He should not be, this is the closest to the line that you can get where it's acceptable, but puts his hand on top of his head again, pulls him back, and then lets go just before landing a punch. That's as close to the line to holding and hitting as you can get. Mayweather does it like that. He'll hold his head down to the last second and let him up just in time to crack him with a big shot. I don't think he should be allowed to do that either. Again, holding his head down and then landing a big punch. Some probing punches, keep his to keep his hand on him so he knows where he's at all times, right? Make Algieri think, possibly get him to move. Touches him again, misses that left hook, right? So touch him. Not a real punch, right? That's still a probing shot. He's shown that he's done that many times. Usually he'll go to the body after this, but he goes to the head because he's hurt. He rolls it, controls his head, kind of eats a counter there, misses this punch. Again, control him. Now he gets one to the body. Another one that kind of misses. Control his head a little bit. And that's okay, right there. That control was okay. Misses that one. And that's a beautiful punch. There's nothing that you can say about that. Control his head. Boom. Throws that. Gets around him. And see how he's not holding his head. He does whip around and control his head. He could pivot out from here. But he does. Yeah, he pivots out here and then turns it into like this crazy huge straight left hook and just cracks him. Beautiful shot. But that is the extent to head control that I think that you should be allowed to do when you're putting your hand on top of somebody's head. This, right? He threw a punch, he missed, rolled over his head, took an angle, and then without holding his opponent's head, landed a great shot. Spence has great movement. He's got great pivots. He turns really well. In instances like this, he closes the distance well while shifting forward, right? Boom, boom. Controls him right there, even though he's out of position. Controls him there, gets into position, throws a punch, controls him. And I think that was like a little bit dirty. But then again, control, gets into position. He's not just standing in front of him, right? He takes an angle on him, throws a punch, misses, punches, controls his head, takes a step back again, and then controls him with that head movement. But his footwork when he's throwing all these punches, right? So he just pivots right there, misses a shot, takes another angle, moves, fights from a different angle, again pivot, and then just blasts him with that shot. So Errol Spence is extremely athletic. He's got very dynamic footwork, but he doesn't show it during the course of the actual fight. When you're only able to really control your opponent when they're hurt, it shows that you don't have confidence in your ability to control them, and you don't have confidence in your footwork and your movement to take advantage of it against a live opponent. And we see the skills very readily, right? Like all those pivots and those moves and, closing the distance. But he only does them when his opponent, again, he does throw an uppercut right there while he's holding him. So very dirty, and then catches him with that shot. And this is really on the line, because he's pulling him and pushing him off balance, Not super appropriate. It's a good shot. He, as they say in boxing, he did what he had to do. God, what a dirty man. But no sportsmanship from him. It really actually detracts from his ring-like ability. He's like a nice enough guy. Oh man, that was beautiful. Takes the pivot off of the control. Even though he's wide open right here, he does land that huge punch. But the fact that he doesn't have any sportsmanship kind of makes me kind of dislike him. You see it in the live fights when you watch them live, and you can kind of get a feeling for it. You don't pay a lot of attention to it. But when you do a film study like this, and you're kind of you're able to see all of the times in which he's not a sportsman. For me personally, it detracts from his image. But that aside, the likability or whatever, that's not film study, and I apologize for even bringing it up. But he's a jerk. He's very fast, and he hits hard. He's got good pivots, and he needs to find a way to incorporate them throughout the course of the fight to set up his offense, not just to land punches on a wounded opponent, right? A hurt opponent, but to actually use them to set up punches against a live opponent. You know, and until I don't even think in the Leonard Bundu fight, which I might break down too, does he show that he's able to do that and set his offense up off of these punches when his opponent's not hurt. So you can kind of give him, you know, like half credit for being able to do that. He tried it sometimes against Algieri when he wasn't hurt, and Algieri would just move off the ropes, right? Like he would take an angle, throw one punch, and Algieri would duck it or slip it or roll it or whatever. And he doesn't know how to set his punches up, you know, with feinting, with the probing, really. Controlling him when he's shifting, he does that really well, but he doesn't do that during the course of the fight unless you're like on the ropes or you're hurt or whatever. So it's just really strange. But anyway, let me know what you guys think Errol Spence's talents are, you know, like his actual ring abilities, you know, because he shows that he can do some things, but the fact that he doesn't do them consistently, he doesn't do them throughout the ring or throughout the fight, only when his opponent is hurt, makes me think that they're not really skills that he possesses. It kind of looks like Errol Spence is a very basic fighter to me. He's basic in his application of his tools, right? His speed, his power, his sharpness, his pivots and whatever. He does have good, like some good movement, some. But the only time that he landed legal punches really was after landing legal ones, or when he would, you know, completely telegraph that he was going for lead foot dominance. I kind of give Errol Spence a C for maybe a C plus, because he's got he's very physically talented, but there's no way that I could give him like a B. He doesn't really exhibit any ability to control his opponent, either offensively or really defensively. The fact that we don't get to see the defensive part is not really his fault in this fight. But if you're just going by what you see, Errol Spence seems like an extraordinarily ordinary fighter, or an extraordinary but ordinary fighter. Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know if you guys want me to do the Leonard Bundu fight. I have the film. The video quality is way freaking better, and it won't be focusing on Leonard Bundu. It'll only be focusing on Errol Spence and what he shows in that fight. So let me know in the comments if you think I should. Otherwise, I'm just gonna, and I might do that. If I do that, I'll do that after the first Kell Brook Film study against his most recent southpaw fighter, who's like Algieri level, I would say. You know, Algieri's probably a better fighter, you know, but this person's been boxing longer than Algieri, so his tools are a little sharper. But let me know what you think in the comments. Yeah, thanks guys.